All right, guys, how are you today? Thanks for watching. This is Daniel Askew, Living TN Podcast. Woo, woo. I rounded up a couple guys down at Home Depot who are our guests today, and some of my mentors and business partners and trusted advisors. So if I say something that's inappropriate, it's their fault. And so the goal here today is just to chat about the real estate industry, entrepreneurship. I think we're representing several billion in sales at this table. So no one here wanted to brag about themselves, except for me. But we decided not to do that. So anyways, the industry is changing, lots of stuff going on in our world. We've been having a lot of mortgage talk, market talk. So I'd love to just kind of go around the room. And if you guys were giving some advice to a consumer, what would you say about real estate, about the opportunities right now? Just what's your kind of blink on the market? We'll start with Devin Doherty from Orange County, California.
So to a consumer, we're talking about to people that would be consuming, like buying or selling?
Absolutely.
Perfect. So to buyers and sellers, I think the thing that's so interesting about our market right now is that we're experiencing in Southern California, we're experiencing what would look like a seller's market, but prices are down 10%.
Okay.
So it's no inventory, very, very difficult to find properties, but market is still going down. The challenge is interest rates. Mm-hmm. So that's a whole conversation I think we all need to talk about. But with interest rates that are maybe going down in the third and fourth quarter, it could be even more exciting. We literally are getting 10 and 20 offers on our listings right now because there's no inventory. I sold a home recently for almost 10% over the asking price. This is in the $1.5 million range, which is an average home in Southern California. But we sold it that way because there was just so much demand on the market. And so our month over month numbers are actually up, even though our year over year numbers are down. So we're in a situation where April to May looks like we're going to be up another 3%, and March to April we're up 3% month for pricing.
So what's your advice to people who are reluctant to sell because they're afraid they're going to have to pay too much on the buy side?
That's a great question. What's happening is that there's a bit of a freeze, what we call hunkering down effect that's going on in the market, because people are struggling with if they're thinking about a move down or a 2-level to a 1-level. What's actually happened is that the market has forced people to think about lifestyle changes only rather than investment and lifestyle. So what I find is happening more than anything is that where we're transacting the most is where there's a life event that's happening. So all the life events are what's triggering the market. So when people, like, for instance, a lot of younger folks, Gen Z, millennials, they want to get in the market because they know that owning real estate is a good thing. And at the same time, they're struggling because, like, for instance, I have a entry-level condo that we're in escrow on, and the buyer is struggling like, wow, I can't really, $5,000 a month for my mortgage payment when I'm only going to pay $2,500 in rent. It's a hard decision. So affordability being so high, in terms of percentage, it's kind of one of these unprecedented times. If you take a snapshot, though, having been doing this, over 30 years, every single good thing that's happened to me has been from holding real estate. So if you look at long-term big picture, it makes sense to get in. You just got to bite the bullet at some point.
So you taught me a term several years ago. You called it the real estate 401k. Mm-hmm. Right. And I don't know if it's still the same, but at the time you had chose to not put really money in the market. You chose to put your money into real estate. Why is that?
Well, because of leverage. I think the biggest conversation that a lot of people have is that the capital markets, typically you don't get a lot of leverage on it until you have a lot of money in it. Where if I can take a new person, my daughter's 21 years old, she's a business partner in my business, and she's looking to buy her first set of units, and she can put 3.5% down with an FHA program, and she can't really make it totally cash flow, but she can still be in a situation where she's paying just a little bit in order to actually let 97% of the growth happen from the bank. And that's the really cool thing about the leverage that you can create with real estate, which you can't create in capital markets.
Interesting. So thank you, Devin. Vlad has an interesting path. I'll give you the cliff notes later. And
I thought you were going to say interesting past.
Yes. Yes.
and colorful.
We'll save that for
I'm glad I'm not a
episode
speller.
Vlad ran several large brokerages and ended up selling his brokerages and then became an investor. And now you're in the capital markets almost full time. What have you learned through that process, and kind of what's your take on the economy? And I want the real take on the economy, not the headline version.
Meow. This is a tough one. I mean, the real take on the economy. And are you sure you want me to say this? Because
I do. At risk of us getting kicked off YouTube, let's hear it. Meow.
Well, in that case,
let's hear it. Meow.
Look, the real economy. When it comes to the economy in the United States, it's very similar to. And how to relate that to like our individual experience, the same as asking or talking about the weather in the United States. It doesn't, it kind of applies differently to depending on where you are geographically. I think the same thing is with the economy. So let me just tie it to, let's say to the great state of Tennessee. It's, you guys have not much to worry about when it comes to economy, simply because there's so many people moving here for a number of obvious reasons, from politics to the geography to the weather, et cetera. So I think
decent company.
Yeah. Yeah, at least.
Yeah.
Maybe more than that.
There's a few nice people here.
There's a few nice people.
Very few.
Say good opportunities, decent company.
Music, and I heard that Dark Brooks was touring the other day.
Absolutely. He's been frequent around our office.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, that's always a plus. So I think that when it comes to Tennessee and when it comes to a few other states, I think that the economy is going to be just fine. When it comes to buyers and sellers within the real estate, I would say that buyers and sellers fall into two categories. One is homeowner and home seller, and then there's the investor, right? Mm-hmm. And when it comes to investing in real estate, it's all about the numbers. It's a lack, not much emotion, and just numbers. Numbers have to work. So if I'm talking to somebody who's looking to invest in real estate, just make sure the numbers work. I mean, there are fellas here in our audience that are buying up properties not because it's a great time necessarily to buy, it's simply because numbers work. Okay, so if, you guys, and I know, Living TN works with a lot of investors, it's like, as long as the numbers work, you're good. And I think that this type of market produces a lot of really great opportunities, because sometimes there's panic that settles in, right? It gets created, boom, and that's where an astute investor comes in. Now let's talk about homeowners, and this is, I'm going to make this really, really fast. For when it comes to homeowners, those that are going to live in primary residence, et cetera, don't think like an investor.
What do you mean by that?
Yeah. Look, a home, we make the places where we live, it's a home. It's not a property. And I understand that it's a property, but we make it a home. This is where, emotional connection, being in the right neighborhood, being in the right part of town, let's say, or being close to work or whatever. There's like a lot of really cool emotional stuff, or stuff that may not necessarily need to be logical or like investment type of base, right? And so if you're thinking about buying a home, just make sure you're buying the right home. Don't try to guess interest rates, where they're going. Like, we don't know where they're going. Nobody really knows where they're going. People are going to predict them, and some are going to be right. Of course, yeah. Like, the broken clock, tells the time at least, once a day correctly. And so,
or twice.
Well, what if it's a digital? Then it's 23 something.
Military time.
Now we're talking about important stuff. All right.
So look, if you're a homeowner, don't think like an investor. Just
So you said something.
Forward.
You said something to me a couple months ago that the next 5 years are going to determine the next 20 years of your wealth. What did you mean by that?
Well, I think that. In times of panic, and how do I know there's panic? Is all you have to do is start, reading the Wall Street Journal. Right. You talk to some people, and whenever there is uncertainty, whenever there is some kind of a change, because we as human beings don't deal with change as well as maybe some other species, is is, the panic sets in. And when panic sets in, there is a lot of stupid decisions that are made. And I believe that over the next few years, whether it's 5, whether it's 3, whether it's 7, there's going to be a number of stupid financial decisions that are being made. Now, for us, being the age cohort that we are, et cetera, I think that it's going to be one of the best wealth building opportunities, because just like Warren Buffett says, is when everybody's greedy, be fearful. By the way, what did we experience at the end of 2020 and throughout the entire 2021 and somewhat first half of 2022? There's a lot of greed, right? So that's when it's a good time to be fearful, which we should remember, 10 years from now, right? And then when everybody is fearful, be greedy. And as soon as we see the fear, and when it comes to real estate, there's going to be people who are going to be getting rid of properties. I know that's happens in my neck of the woods now. That it's like, oh, I just got to sell. Like, I don't care. I just got to sell. I got to get out. That's time to be greedy. So it'll be a good opportunity for us and anybody listening over the next few years to seek out opportunities when people are fearful. It's a really good chance to be greedy.
Good perspective. Beauty's in the eye of the beholder, I guess, right?
God bless your heart.
Yeah. Thank you. Blessings to you too, sir. So let's move on to Mark. Mark, I love your story. He's shared we were chatting today. Mark recently is selling his business that he's built for many years. You've owned a lot of properties, recently relocated to Florida. Any advice for someone that's moving across the country? How's that gone?
Yeah, it wasn't a very far move. It was just from Washington to Florida.
I mean, are you in?
Just put on sunscreen, maybe.
Yeah, put on some sunscreen.
You do have the best tan of the group, if I may say so.
I got to spend the whole, and it's half and half. So I still live in the state of Washington.
Okay.
And so I'm there.
For tax purposes? I'm just kidding.
182 days.
Both of them have no income tax. So
all right. Hey, there is something. Yes, cheers to that.
So
Devin pays 80% income tax in California.
We have to pitch into flying.
That's the
part of it for us was political. Well, that was a big part of it, and the weather. I'm getting to the part of my life where we want to live where we want to live. And I think it was probably one of the Keller Williams things that I heard that live your life by design, not by default. And it's like I've taken that to heart. And it's like a lot of people don't think about that. It's like they just, when you talk to people, a lot of people say, oh, this happened to me or that happened to me or I'm here because of whatever, not because of their own decisions. We're all wherever we are because of our own decisions. All kinds of, stuff happens to us over life, right? And it's how we react to it. We've all had some bad stuff happen. We've all had some good stuff happen. But we can design. But where do you want to be in 5 years? A lot. I think it was again a Gary Keller thing that says, a lot of people think they can do a lot more in a year than they can, but you can actually accomplish a lot more than you think you can in 5 years. And you can change the whole trajectory of your life over a 5-year period. I did myself. I was working for a company. I was coaching them, and then they hired me to do what I told them to coach. And then after I did it for a year, they fired me because I did it all for them. So then they get to do it. So then it's like, that's when I got back into real estate. So I went into real estate saying, okay, I want to build a team. And within 5 years, I want to have a team that not only I'm selling houses, but they are, and I'm going to be back out of selling houses and not having to do that. Within 5 years, I did do that. So it did change the trajectory of my life over 5 years. But a lot of people quit after 6 months or a year or 2 years. They just don't, because guess what? It wasn't an easy 5 years. It wasn't like I went like this. It was, you have a lot of bumps along the way and get there, and there still is. I mean, you don't have to have 5 years. I've had some big bumps where, I had people on my team that basically did a mutiny on me, and I had to restart my team 2 years ago. And, it's not fun, but I'll do it. And now I'm in the process of selling my business so that I can live in 2 different states. And then I purchased some properties, some long-term rentals, some short-term rentals. And it's been a lot of fun, actually. It was hard because I bought an 11-plex that needed to be fixed up, did a lot of work to it. hiring employees again to do construction work because I used to flip houses in the past. Not always the best crowd, so I end up probably hiring 15 people over a 4-month period to end up with 5 good guys. But we got the job done, and it turned out well. So I think investing in yourself and sticking to something is going to get you to where you want to get. And just like what you guys were talking about before about your house and for your personal house, it's like marry the house and then what they say, date the interest rate, because we don't know what the interest rate. If the interest rate, let's say you get an interest rate right now at 6%. Okay, great. And that's you're locked in. Don't get a variable, get a 6%. You're locked in. If it goes up to 8, guess what? You're winning. If it goes down to 5, you can refinance, and then as long if you want to refinance, as long as you're staying there a couple years or more, you'll get it paid back for that refi. So it just makes sense to get in. I remember my wife and I bought our first house. This shows my age a little bit, but we got married young. Our interest rate was we bought our first house in 1986. We got married in 85. Our interest rate was 8%. And my dad told me at that time, it's like, yeah, when we got our loan in the 60s, it was 5%. You'll never see those rates again. So guess what? Those rates went, they were out above 8%. They just got down to 8%. And then they kind of, over time, if you look at over time, it averages about 6. So if you're at 5 or 4, that's the problem right now is that a lot of people got a loan at 3. And it's like, if I sell my house, let's say I've got a bigger house at 3, and I want to downsize, well, shoot, now I'm getting a 6% loan. My payment's higher, and I got a smaller house. I might as well just wait, or until I get enough equity, then I'll pay cash for a house or something like that. So, that's the biggest deal with the interest rates.
So, having moved across the country, I think there's a lot of migration across the country right now, and it's a big thing to pick up and move to another area. And now you've done it successfully. Would you have done it sooner? Like, was it harder than you expected or easier than you expected?
It was easier than expected. We bought a house a year ago, February. We're planning on this year. We were planning on being there maybe 2 or 3 weeks at a time, and then going home for a couple months at a time, and then Airbnb-ing it when we weren't there. But we were able to Airbnb it while we weren't there during the summer. And I was surprised that people rented it out and wanted to go to Florida in the summertime. So they sweated and paid us. And so actually, when we Airbnb'd it, it makes the payment. So if I would have done this, I could have bought a house a lot cheaper like 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. And basically the house would have been free for me. And I could have went only a couple times a year if I wanted to. Now, because we liked it so much and I bought the 11-plex, we stayed there for 6 months. And I just loved it over there. Out in a boat or working on stuff, and I play pickleball. And so
really?
I play, yeah.
That's the whole other podcast.
That's a whole other podcast. But the great thing about
Stop
pickleball.
the show. That'll be about an hour podcast.
Yeah.
2 things: pickleball and Florida. There's everybody from Florida is from somewhere else, and so they're very friendly. And there are a lot of them. We were on the Gulf Coast, so a lot of them are from the Midwest, and so we met a lot of friendly people. And so I've got probably 50 new friends after being there for 6 months.
Wow!
And so it's great because there's not a lot of native Florida people. It's mostly people that are going there. And so they're very welcoming. They know that you're new. So they welcome you in with open arms.
Very cool.
Where like in our area, it's like, oh, do you remember where Kmart was 50 years ago? It's like, no, I just moved here 10 years ago. It's like, who cares?
Where'd you go to high school?
So I have one follow-up question. Well, thank you for saying that, because I think there's a lot of angst for people who want to make that move, or like, I'm going to retire one day and move to Florida. But your story gives me hope. It's like, hey, why wait? Like, if you got the guts to do it, then just do it. And Florida, Tennessee's very the same. Texas, I know, like, we have somewhere around 100 people a day moving here. You don't meet anyone from here anymore. So everyone is like, we're all in the same boat, just meeting new people.
And they're very friendly.
So out of curiosity, you and I were talking earlier about our businesses and the ups and downs. And essentially, you mentioned that one of your investment properties at times can cash flow better than a business. Yes. If you were going back to start over, would you focus really on building the real estate company, or would you focus more on the investment side?
Yeah, I probably would have focused a little bit more on short-term rentals. Short-term rentals have a they're more work than long-term rentals, but their cash flow is a lot higher than long-term. Yeah. And so it just depends on if you want to work a little bit more. And the great thing is now versus, and I've only been doing it for a year and a half, but listening to people that have been doing it for like 10 years, it was probably a lot harder back then than it is now. Now there's so many tools out there. There's a lot of automation. So if like somebody books it, we have automated emails that go out, automated, it does their code on their lock for their door from the time they're coming in to the time they leave. I don't touch any of that stuff. We have a guidebook that goes out that's digital. So it's like there's so many online digital stuff that it's like I don't have to do a lot other than have a really good person that boots on the ground that can, if somebody has a problem, they fix it, and then a good cleaning crew.
Is that you or your wife?
No, neither one.
Good.
I got lucky. I got an awesome guy there that did that, and then he found a great person that has a good cleaning crew. So nice. I've been very blessed that way.
Cool. Thank you for sharing everything. Jim Black, tell us your story. I love how you run your business. Very into the numbers. Small amount of agents selling a lot of houses. Yep. What would you attribute the success to? Like your per agent productivity is extremely high. How do you run an operation like that, or how do you recruit those people? Just any thoughts on that?
So I think the biggest thing with that is being just super picky on who we hire. Probably too picky, honestly. We only have really 8 agents, and we have about 5 or 6 of them that are really doing most of the productivity. And retaining the people is just, I think it's actually caring about people. Like a lot of times we like build a big business and like, okay, like I'm going to grind everything out and just make as much money as I can, as opposed to trying to figure out how can you win together. That's been my biggest thing. I'm not on the pickleball court, so I have all the time to be
Not yet. Not yet.
Your day's coming.
You're going to be converted by the end of the
We're
week.
having a tournament.
Yes.
But I think it's that, but also just and I'm in multiple businesses with people I'm in business with. So creating partnerships, whether it's right or wrong, I haven't figured that out yet, but so far it's worked for me. Investing in properties together, partnership in mortgage, partnership within my real estate business as well. And for me, that's helped me to retain the right people. I don't do that with everybody, but for the right people that I want to be in business with, I do that.
So you always impress me because you always know your numbers. How did you learn to be a numbers guy? Was that natural, or is that something that you spent a lot of energy on? But you seem to have a really good grasp of your business, your profitability, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I don't remember names. I remember numbers.
I'm Josh has that same. That's why y'all are sitting next to each other.
I swear you're not a number to me.
Yes,
but I do know it.
Yes, I know exactly.
You sold the house. I know your name.
I actually had someone the other day that I was chatting with them. They had bought their house 8 or 9 years ago, and I rattled off what they bought it for. And they're like, wow, I can't believe you remember that. I'm like, I remember every number.
You just don't remember their names.
I have no clue what your name is. I don't know the street name, but I definitely know how much you bought it for. So it's something that excites me. The numbers, spending time with the numbers, and really just making sure that they actually make sense. And, and I think the other thing is providing value above, like I can have this business and we can sell houses and people can make some money, but like teaching people to actually invest in themselves, invest in general, like not going and buying the fanciest car, go buy the 11-unit rental property, go make sure that you have a future where you don't have to grind for 50 years, where you might be able to put the work in, but you're investing on the side, making sure that you're doing whatever that investment is. It could be the capital markets. It could be rental property. It could be Airbnb, short-term rentals, long-term rentals, whatever it is that you understand is to invest in that. So I think that's one of the biggest things that I've tried to do is to just teach them what I know. And I've definitely messed up all of it many, many times, or even flipping properties, which I've learned I probably should have just kept all of them.
Amen.
It's kind of just listening to these guys too. Like if I go back and I never sold anything I ever bought, I would be in a much different position than I would be today. The money I made from flipping any property, does not equal what I would have made had I kept it and rented it.
I've never heard anybody say, I wish I wouldn't have bought that property. Or I wish I wouldn't have kept that property.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so glad I sold.
Yeah.
Said no one ever.
Exactly.
I have a,
When
I have
enough
a
time has
billionaire-
passed.
billionaire mentor who said, look, Devin, the only property I've ever regretted selling is every single one of them.
I remember when I said that to you. That was a good day. That was a good day.
Cheers.
That was a
Thanks
good
for the
one.
coaching.
Well, cheers to you for listening.
I know you.
So, Josh, our
Are we done now?
yeah. This-
Good
end on that.
content.
I guess drinks on me. Then.
What is there left to say?
I mean, nothing really.
You can't go wrong with Josh Wright.
Right. Well, yeah. Without further ado, we've got the young lion of the group. Right. I think we've.
Hey, we're finally a somebody. You know?
Hey, you got a Tennessee quarterback. He's going to be awesome. So
Looking forward to that.
we will.
Bunch of people walking around with hooker jerseys on the back.
We can
Tennessee
elaborate on that later. We can elaborate on that later. It was a PG joke. You just don't realize it. So Josh, some 50, 70 ventures you're running at the time, running right now. Lots of partnerships, joint ventures. How did you get into wanting to build that many businesses? Like, what the heck were you thinking?
You know, I wasn't planning on it. And that's usually how it always starts, right? Like
Yeah.
you have this intention. I was working for the federal government and had a really nice job, but I was able to do real estate part-time.
I think a lot of the people that work at the federal government have other jobs too.
I will say, as a former government employee, when I took the role, it's everything that you think it would be, as far as benefits and time off. And my buddy used to always say, "You have such a plush job," and I was like, "I don't really know what that means." And then I went there, and I was like, "No, I know what you mean." But at that time, I was working there, and I was making just as much money working in real estate and spending 5 to 10 hours a month as I was working full time there. So I decided to jump in full force in real estate. At the time, my brother and I partnered together, and it was my first business partnership. Took my real estate company and we merged together, did mortgage and real estate hand in hand. And really, I'm very conservative in nature, very calculated data numbers, but I didn't really want to grow as fast. But my brother doesn't see any of that. He's just like, I'm thinking in millions, he's thinking in trillions. And so he's been kind of the driver of that. And we have a pretty good balance for each other. But over the years, we knew we wanted to surround ourselves with businesses around the consumer and be able to make sure that they had the best experience possible. We wanted to control their journey. So we took our real estate and our mortgage entity and surrounded it with additional services like title and inspections and insurance services for our consumers. So that way they would have one network that would be able to work for them.
Just recently bought a carrying transitions company.
Yeah, we just recently started a Caring Transitions franchise to be able to help people downsize their home.
Like Mark.
Yeah, Mark, move on, more focus in the seniors area. Help them relocate, pack up.
Do you do the packing?
Not personally.
Okay.
Not yet. Thankfully, at this point in time. Yeah, but I'll be
Right. He would probably kick all of our butts at the same time.
for sure. But I believe that partnership has been a key to our success. When you can work with somebody, it allows you to grow faster. You can go far alone. You can go fast alone, but you can go far together, right?
So what are the keys to a good partnership? Just a couple of thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think partnership, trust is the most important thing. I had built-in trust. I have my brother, right? It's hard to find better trust in a relationship than your actual bloodline, right? So that's been great for me. But then in addition to that is just being around like-minded business people. I've found we've started 40 plus mortgage companies across the country, we partner with the top successful real estate people. And you don't get to that level in business where you're doing 300 plus transactions a year unless you really have a good business mind. You just don't make your way there on accident. You can accidentally sell 30, 40, 50 homes, but to have people that you're leading, it's very difficult. So we know that we could find successful business people, and that partnership has really just allowed us we work in our strengths and we have our partners work in theirs. My brother and I share the exact same values in life, but we have way different strengths, and that's been a key to success for us. And same thing with all of our other partners. we handle operations, they handle sales, right? Like that's just that kind of hand in glove that works together.
So how do you guys resolve your conflicts now as adults?
Are you talking about me
You
and
and
my
your brother?
or
Hey,
me and
you-
my business partner?
You and your brother
You know, it's very interesting right now. We've had like one.
can't do a leg sweep anymore.
Yeah, we know it doesn't work out like that. You know, there's no like hands to fist to cuffs, none of that stuff. You know, we haven't had any challenges really in business. It's been really great, but in our personal life, we bought some vacation properties recently, about 2 years ago, and we're trying to like figure out how to like divvy up property right now, and things that are like really trivial to an extent, like $30,000-$40,000 stuff when we've been handling, you know, probably $20-30 million a year, and we're like quarreling over this small thing right now. Like that's personal. But what we found is that involves other human beings. You know, we're both married, we have spouses, we also have children. We're like, we should probably just go back to this business world where it's really simple, because I'm a numbers guy and I'm like Jim, you know, numbers tell a story and you can't hide behind them. And we run our businesses on numbers, not feelings. And I think that's been one of our keys to success, but also like our keys to like continued growth and hunkering down when was necessary.
Yeah. I mean, you can't hear it enough. The numbers are the numbers. And I think our society wants to talk a lot about feelings, you know, and make sure everyone's happy. But at the end of the day, if the business is losing money and no one has a job, is anybody going to be happy?
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, and you can have a great plan, right? Like I think it's Mike Tyson says, everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the face. Well, sometimes in business, you get punched in the face.
Yeah.
Your plan goes out the window. How do you respond to that?
Yeah.
The first thing is look at the numbers. Take a look at that and then make a good response on keeping your future. You know, in COVID, we decided to cut back on like a ton of expenses and the market wasn't. And we were looking at it like, I can't believe people aren't reducing their advertising expense. And we couldn't even sell homes at the time. And we reduced our expenses by like 40 grand. And I remember making that decision going, we'll save cash now to make sure that we're going to play the long game here. And if the market turns back good, then we'll be great. If the market's bad, we'll be really thankful that we made the right decision to hold on to some cash.
yeah. Well, kind of on we'll go one more round here on that note about nobody really has a plan until they get their ear bit off.
I'm not sure that's what he said.
Devin,
That was a Vander.
if you're giving yourself advice 10 years ago, what the heck would you say to yourself?
Great question. I think a couple things. One is, you know, it does matter who you're in business with. And I think that is a really important component of what I've learned in my adult career, and what I would choose for my next generation, my daughter involved in our business, is that the who that you partner with matters most. You know, it's the old saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know, because who you know can teach you what to know. So I think I would tell my 10-year younger version to connect with more people that were like me, that were after what I was after. And that would be true in all these areas we talked about: capital markets. It would be true in rental properties, short term and long term. It'd be true in business brokerage, other businesses. I mean, all of those things. If I told my 10-year younger self to do that, I think we would have just more opportunities to share. And I think that's the beautiful thing about what we do now, is that we are able to share all that learning, because I have an 18-year-old son and I have a 16-year-old son. So they're seeing kind of dad working his way through all of this stuff. And it's really, really important. The who matters a lot.
It's powerful when you're rowing the boat in the same direction too.
Yeah.
You know, you're aligned. It's way easier to go down that path together. And it's so much more fun.
Yeah.
Right. It's just so much more fun.
Ain't no fun if your homies can't have none, right?
That's right.
So, Vlad, give us your top 10 stock picks for the next decade. No liability on what you say, I promise.
Well, I'm still down about 40% of the land.
Yeah.
At least. That's a good opportunity to buy.
Yeah, still a good opportunity to buy.
Just keep buying.
Weekly.
Cost averaging. Come on, do it.
Weekly.
So, Vlad, as a
Top 10, I'm pretty sure.
savant investor, what are you telling your girls right now? How old are they, and what are you telling them?
So my girls are 7, 11, and almost 14, going on 34. It's
I feel that.
Look, I'm telling them, when it comes to money, when it comes to investing, is treat your money as an asset. Okay, it's something that can create more value and more money. And can I answer the question that you gave to
Please.
Devin? Because I kept thinking about it. What Devin said was priceless. I mean, it's the who is a big deal. I would also, going back 10 years ago, it was 2013. I would say, buy everything.
Yeah.
That was going back to what I said earlier about greed.
Sell the shit off your back. Yep.
Greed on the there was a lot of fear on the streets, and that was a really good time to be greedy. And I did have some investment properties I bought back then, and I could mess up those properties, did everything wrong, and still make money on those, just because it was such a great opportunity 10 years ago.
Well, if you think about when we were in the short sale game together, we had so many opportunities.
Yeah.
And if we had bought 1% of the opportunities that we let pass through our fingers.
Yeah. And, if I'm talking to real estate professionals, and I'm assuming there'll be 1 or 2 listening to this after this.
Maybe not this long.
But never mind. I'm not going to share
We'll bust it up into 1.5-minute segments to keep everyone's attention.
So you're just talking to my wife now.
We're shooting a year's worth of content right now, so don't worry about that.
I would say is, one of the complaints that I hear in real estate is like, oh, I don't have enough money to be an investor in real estate. I don't have enough money to be an investor, period, right? And what I learned 10 years ago plus is when you have great deals, money finds you. And instead of complaining about money or not having it, is go out and find great deals, and then money will find you.
Was that a request? Like you're looking for the whole audience to find you?
Because he's got money.
Just bring in the deal.
We'll
Unless
post
we
your
get
cell
kicked
phone
off
on YouTube.
Twitter and YouTube and Vimeo,
Yes.
if that's even possible. We'll figure out a way to get kicked off there.
We're going to brush off MySpace as well. It's coming back. It's coming back. Have you, question for you guys, have you ever seen someone succeed alone?
The closest I've seen is like really, really succeed. It would be like Warren Buffett, because he was definitely on the path to, like, he was going to be, we were most likely would know who Warren Buffett is without Charlie Munger. Most likely, not 100%, right? And with Charlie Munger, so my short answer is no. And Warren Buffett probably would have been like that person, but Charlie Munger has amplified that like many, many times over. And so I don't know what you guys
I mean, I hear the term often, like no one succeeds alone. And I do believe it. But I mean, has anyone ever even found someone that succeeded by themselves? I mean, it's just not even.
I mean, it doesn't even have to be a partner.
Right.
It's like your team, your employees, all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
You
Your
can't
spouse.
Otherwise, you
Gotta have
let's say a
customers.
real estate team or
You're talking about
Warren
business.
Buffett. It's like you can only do so many transactions, and then you're done. I mean, you have to have help.
I think that even if somebody attempts it, it's just like such an interesting question. It's like if somebody even attempts it, is like how long could they like?
You get burned out.
Well, the reason I ask is that it seems that there's a lot of ego in our society. And
Not in this industry of real estate, though.
Never. I mean, we passed a billboard with my face on it earlier, but there's no ego on that.
But you gave all the street cred to the team. It was just like it's my pretty face, but
Yes.
So pretty.
but I'm surrounded by other pretty people.
Thank you,
Gotta
Mark.
use that money maker.
Thank you, Mark. Well, I see, especially with the younger generation, their unwillingness to ask for help.
Oh yeah.
But there's nothing wrong with asking for help,
Well, they'll talk to ChatGPT.
right? I mean,
That thing is
So do you think young people should ask for help?
Yes,
All right, there we go.
from their parents.
All right.
If you're listening, Sloan, live, and rate.
Yes.
So Mark, what would be a couple takeaways from the last decade for you? If you had to sum it up in a couple of nuggets, what would it be?
Couple nuggets. Well, I would agree with Vlad. Like if you bought real estate, in 2013, I was very blessed. My wife and I, we actually, blessed and not blessed. So 2008 or before 2007 crash, we invested in a lot of properties and over leveraged ourselves and lost everything. So there was people not willing to take a chance on me. And then I got back in real estate in 2013. I bought our house on a contract in 2013 after I'd been in business, been a realtor for 6 months.
Wow.
And sold 12 houses. But that property was a big property. It's like that motivated me to sell 68 houses the next year. Wow. But now that property, I've refinanced it. Now we have the house on 14 acres that are refinanced, and I have 45 other acres that I own free and clear now that I'll be subdividing and selling. So that was for probably around $1.5 million. If I would have taken that chance back then, like you said, sometimes you have to take a chance. Sometimes it's like it might be a little more, it might be out of your stretch, but it's like, guess what? You're going to own this for a long time, and the value is going to go up. It might go down, but over time, it's going to go up. Over time, it always goes up. When we lost everything in 2007 and 8, like you said, we built 15 condos at that time, only sold one of them, and we had 80 doors of rentals. We went bankrupt, lost them all. All of those rentals, if we had them now, we'd have multi-millions of dollars, right? So it's like but you also, when you're investing, you got to make sure you have cash flow. I didn't have cash flow, and that's why I lost them all. Mm-hmm. If I could have cash flowed then, we'd have been fine. And the whole thing, if the values go down, the rents never went down. Mm-hmm. I watched it because I was in it. The rents just kept going up because guess what? Nobody could buy a house. Yep. And so the rents kept going up.
Which is happening right now.
Exactly. Yep. The rents are going up again. The rents never go down. They might flatten out a bit, but they never go down.
Amen.
So I guess my take would be on it, take a chance. I mean, even if you have a 6% interest and it's a little bit out of your stretch, sooner or later that house that you buy is going to, and guess what? Like you said, it's a home. You're building this for your family, and you find stuff that you just fall in love with it versus somebody else's house that you're making a payment on. You can't even paint the wall.
Amen.
And we rented for we bought our first house 8 months after we were married. Always owned our own house until we went bankrupt, and then we rented for 5 years. And we got kicked out of a couple houses because people got foreclosed on, or they wanted to move back in their house or whatever. So it's like we had to frickin' move by not our choice a few times during that time. Now, guess what? We don't have to move unless we choose to.
Well, you chose to.
Yeah.
And you're in the pickleball capital of the world.
And we still have our house back there. That's,
very cool.
Almost, will be paid off soon. So it's like,
I mean, it's a true story of grit. I mean, to be honest, inspiring to me.
Amen.
Yeah. So Jim,
the other one, hire a great coach.
Yeah. Devin was one of my first coaches, man. It's like,
he will mind ninja you until
he mind ninja me, made me stay on task. It's like, and it is, you do need a good coach to stay focused. Otherwise you get down on yourself, or you just don't do the work, or you say you're too busy. It's nice to have somebody say, so what, you're too busy. You still need to do the work. You still need to make calls. You still need to lead generate, all that kind of stuff.
So Jim, thanks for sharing, Mark. I know it's kind of hard to rehash sometimes, but it's all part of the journey, right?
Mm-hmm. Actually, you know what? It was hard, but it's good to look back that I was able to come back from stuff like that and not just give up.
So
imagine working for the government or something.
So Jim, you're kind of on a health kick, about to do a 45-mile,
100 mile.
Excuse me, 100-mile.
4 days though. It's over 4 days. So 25 miles a day for 4 days.
100-mile car ride.
4 marathons in a row?
Basically.
Yes. Well, you're not running it.
Not all the way marathon.
Like on a bike or in a car?
Hey.
You're walking with a rucksack on.
Does it matter?
So you're like 30 or 40 pounds on your back for 25 miles.
Oh, so you made a pretty big commitment to your health a while back. How important is like your health to your success in business? Like, how does that intertwine for you?
So I would say when I dove into real estate I was not taking care of my health. And I think I had some outward success, a decent amount of it. And I was miserable and unhappy. And sometimes we have to refocus that shit. And I the last I'd say 2 years or so, it's been a huge focus of mine. I did eat those cheddar chips.
Sorry about
awesome.
that. Yeah.
But it's been huge because it gives me more energy. And I was being a bad example to the people in my world by showing them what success looked like without being healthy. And I believe over the last couple of years, I actually believe I'm a good example. Because if I don't take care of my health, like what's going to happen when I'm as old as this guy? I'm going to be screwed.
So what would you say?
You got some time. Don't worry.
For someone that's
you're saying I should be healthier?
so for someone that's going, yeah, I should probably be healthier. What would the first step be?
Making a decision that it's the most important thing that you can do. So for me, that was it, is that happens no matter what. So like in real estate, like we say, okay, most important thing I'm going to do is lead generate, which is super important. But before I do that, you know, I'm going to get up at 4:30, whatever time that is, I got to get up. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to take care of my health for an hour and a half. Then I'm going to spend some time with my family. Then I'm going to go ahead and do the things I got to do for my business, because that gives me the energy to actually do that.
Well, thank you for sharing. We're going to talk about that this weekend because I need to make that decision in ways. So, Josh, for somebody who's an entrepreneur that's growing, starting multiple companies, what advice would you give them as far as like, how do you enjoy that journey? Like, when's enough? How do you feel, when people bring that up to you?
Great question. It's something I've struggled with at times, really, like when is enough? I would say the biggest piece of advice would just go for it. Like, bet on yourself. Like, I see so many people out there working in environments where they don't really have a lot of control over their career or their income, or they're just day-to-day living. It's like, oh, I have to be here. I have to be there. Like, go for it. No offense to all the business owners that I ran into, which is what you say right before you're about to offend them. I just seen a lot of people who are not very intelligent do really, really well in business. And that what gave me the confidence. Okay. I wasn't looking at him.
Don't call out Rain Man over here.
But I missed everything.
It's okay.
Dory, you can rewatch it later.
Yes.
You can rewatch it later.
It's okay now.
Can we get a replay?
Right. But just go for it. Like, bet on yourself. Like, put things in your own control. Because even if you don't reach like substantially higher income levels, you'll receive substantially higher flexibility in your life. And it doesn't mean that you'll take the flexibility at times. Like when I got into business with my brother, and we sat down with our wives and we said, hey, we're going to work really, really hard for the next 2 years. We just have to make sure that you're aware that this is what's going to take place. But after that, it should free us up and we should get part of our life back. We're going to invest in the next 2 years and then we'll slowly work ourselves. So I did that. I worked nights and weekends for 2 years as a real estate agent, and then skilled myself back, and then hired leadership, and then replaced myself, and then grew businesses to a point. And we really had a goal actually to build our business to, we were going to open up 100 mortgage companies. And then we paused that. Part of it was due to market conditions, and part of it was my brother and I looking at each other in the face going, we don't need to do more. We can slow down, focus on our business partners, focus on our families, focus on living the life by design that we really wanted. So we chose to do that, and we'll continue to grow, and we still are at the paces that we choose to. But you don't always have that when you're per se working for someone else. And when you have that control as an independent contractor, or when you have that control as an entrepreneur of, I get to start and stop my day when I want, that's really important. Like my daughter lost her second tooth last night, and it was really kind of cool for her again, and we got to be a part of that. And at 4 a.m. I'm doing all the things, right? And just those moments that I get to really enjoy. Friday I took her to the zoo. I took the whole day off and went there. I don't even think I worked once, which was great. Not even a phone call. And for me, that's why I've done what I've done. So I can say, I can choose to be at any event I want. And sometimes I may choose that I have to come to Nashville and, and really sacrifice my time and be here and hang out, do all these podcasts. And they've got me on this regimen schedule and I probably have no fun. And they're going to get me up at 4 a.m. and get me back on another flight. But those are the sacrifices you have to make.
The team, man.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
Yeah. So let's all talk about Josh for a little while.
Do that tomorrow.
Yes. Well, guys, I know you're all hungry. And so we're going to go eat some barbecue.
Nice.
So any parting thoughts?
Well, for me, I would just say that this has been a great conversation, and these are amazing humans. And you, Daniel, have done a phenomenal job. We haven't talked about you at all, but the fact that you have done what you've done and not only worked your way through all the success that I've seen you have, but I see you mentoring so many great people and investing your life energy into them, that is going to pay back in spades. And so that I just want to give you massive kudos for, because that's where the rubber meets the road for me, is that when you're investing in other people.
Thank you.
There you go.
Yeah, second that. I mean, if you're looking for a good person here locally that you can confide in, that has your best interest and isn't going to look out for themselves, you're a guy here locally that can do that for people, which is excellent, because it's not normal for people to be as selfless as you are. And everybody would be better if they knew who you were and spent a little bit more time with you.
God, are y'all trying to get me to pay for lunch? Is that what's happening?
Are we there yet?
Are we close?
Thank you.
Not working?
All right.
No, don't let Mark talk, because we're backwards.
I thought we paid for our flights. We paid for lunch.
Yeah. Frankly, I just consider myself a conduit. My job is just to go find good information and then bring it to other people.
That's great.
You don't have to be that smart to resource good info. So, Vlad, parting thoughts?
Let's go eat.
All right. Man, a few words.
Awesome job interviewing.
Oh, good.
Got everybody doing something different.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's slow down. Let's talk about me more. Well, thank you, Jim.
And also, I guess parting thought would be find a group of people that you have stuff in common with that you can bounce ideas off. It's not just business; it's personal, it's family, it's life that we can all talk about. And the longer we've known each other, the more we can share with each other, because the more trust. And you get a group of people like that, you can do all kinds of things that you couldn't do on your own. I know.
It's such a great point. It's like this morning I got advice from Josh and Jim, and then I got advice from you in the car, and then I got advice from them. I already got a list of things to do just from a couple of car rides to the airport.
So are you going to hold them accountable to this list?
Damn right.
Yes. Sounds fun. Just need a couple $1 million. Jim, any?
It's kind of what Mark said. Who you spend time with matters. And
Absolutely.
if you're spending time with the right people, you're going to get where you want to go. If you spend
No pun intended.
Yes, the right people.
Pun intended.
That was horrible. I get a dad joke book at home. But if you spend time with the wrong people, you're also going to go in the other direction. So just really paying attention to who is it I'm spending time with, because if it's the wrong people, you're not going to get where you want to go. So
you rarely outperform the sum.
correct.
Yeah. Sure.
Josh, say something smart for us.
Man, I just tell my kids every day, they're 6 and 5. I just tell them just be kind and loving. There's two most important things. And, my wife and I talk a lot about, we just like to surround ourselves with positive people. I think those 3 things, if you can do those, be kind and loving and surround yourself with positive people, that'll just change your life.
Yeah.
Just that alone.
Yep.
That's the rules in our house too. Be kind, be awesome. But nobody wants to hang out with a Debbie Downer, right?
No.
Or what we use the word fun sponge. So, we have a
Fun
boat,
sponge.
and fun sponges are not allowed on the boat. They get one try, and then if they suck, they don't get to come back. So
Yeah, there you go.
So we'll see how you guys do tomorrow. Thank you all for joining us on this cast. Share it with your wife, share it with your kids, and have a great day. Peace.
Peace.